Greetings to all who appreciate the magic of transforming grapes into magic. Today, we'll calmly and clearly examine the fundamental opposition between two icons of the wine world. We'll discover why a heavy glass of Bordeaux and a light flute of champagne are perceived as absolute opposites, what lies behind this dichotomy at the technological, chemical, and cultural levels, and how to learn to choose not between them, but in favor of a specific moment. In the world of drinks, there are two archetypal images familiar even to those unfamiliar with wenology. The first is a solid, heavy glass filled with a dark ruby liquid, associated with respectability, an evening meal, depth, and contemplation. The second is a graceful flute swirling with myriad bubbles, a symbol of instant joy, a start, spontaneous celebration, and the lightness of being. Red wine and champagne. Their opposition seems obvious and eternal, but are they really so far apart? Or is their antagonism merely a superficial impression, concealing different philosophies serving the same goal, to provide exceptional sensations? The purpose of this article is to go behind the scenes of this theatrical confrontation. We will see that what separates them is not simply the presence or absence of bubbles, but the very essence of production, from the initial idea in the winemaker's head to the chemical reactions in the glass. We'll learn why red wine is said to speak of the land while champagne speaks of human craftsmanship, how tannins build the architecture of one, while carbon dioxide pressure shapes the character of the other. And most importantly, we'll understand that they shouldn't be contrasted. They are two different yet equally valid languages in which wine can communicate with us. One tells a leisurely saga of terroir and time, the other a sparkling poem about the moment and craftsmanship. By learning to understand them, you'll stop choosing between and start choosing in accordance with the food, the mood, and the moment. At the heart of great red wine lies the concept of terroir, the sacred unity of soil, climate, grape variety, and human labor for the winemaker. The philosophy is simple. Wine should be a transparent conduit, the voice of a specific plot of land in a specific year. A Burgundy winemaker choosing the moment to harvest Pinot Noir, or a Bordeaux plot owner overseeing the ripening of Cabernet Sauvignon, aim for minimal intervention, ensuring that the unique history of the place resonates in the glass. Here, grape variety is not just raw material, but a key expression of terroir. Acidity, tannin profile, aromatic potential, all are dictated by the location. The vintage millésime is of paramount importance, as each season reveals the character of the terroir differently. Here, the winemaker is more like an attentive gardener and a sensitive midwife, helping the wine emerge as nature intended. The philosophy of classic champagne is built on a different, almost opposite principle. Although the Champagne region also has its own terroir, chalk soils, cool climate, permitted varieties, Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Pinot Meunier, the ultimate goal is not to convey the voice of a single parcel. The goal is to create a perfect, timeless idea or style of the house. In the case of impeccable non-vintage blends, this is achieved through the use of a highly complex technology, the méthode champenoise, or classic traditional method. The original wines, usually still in neutral, are merely the building blocks. The art lies in their blending. The cuvée. A master winemaker, blender, can blend wines from different villages, varieties, and even vintages to achieve the balance of acidity, fruitiness, and structure that is the house's signature. Next comes a series of mandatory technological steps. Secondary fermentation in the bottle itself, during which the drink spends months or years on the yeast sediment, sur lie. Manual or mechanical rotation of the bottles, remoage, to collect the sediment in the neck, its freezing and removal, disgorgement, and finally the addition of expedition liqueur dosage to adjust the sweetness. Thus, if the philosophy of red wine is minimalism and expression, then the philosophy of champagne is maximalism and creation. One drink is a chronicle of the earth, the other a monument to human skill and concept. This difference at the level of idea predetermines everything that follows, including the chemical processes that shape taste. Differences in production philosophy directly lead to fundamentally different chemical processes that shape the structure, aroma, and texture of red wine and champagne. Simply put, red wine chemistry operates horizontally, creating density and complexity, while champagne chemistry operates vertically, creating lightness and volatility. The key process here is maceration, the contact of the fermenting must with the skins, pulp, and seeds of the grapes. It is from the skins that three critically important groups of substances pass into the juice. First, anthocyanins, the pigments that give wine all shades of red from bright ruby to deep garnet. Second, and most importantly, tannins, phenolic compounds responsible for structure, astringency, the sensation of dryness and tightening on the gums, and aging potential. Tannins act as a natural preservative, binding with proteins and oxygen to form long polymer chains over time, making the wine softer and more complex. Third, they produce a multitude of aromatic precursors, which later, during maturation and aging, will develop into complex bouquets. Another important chemical process is controlled oxidation during aging in oak barrels. Through the oak pores, a microdose of oxygen enters the wine, softening tannins, promoting the formation of new aromatic compounds, notes of vanilla, spice, and roasted oak coffee, and stabilizing the color. The chemistry of red wine is aimed at creating a dense, multi-layered architecture with a long developing finish. In champagne, a key factor plays a role that still wine lacks: the high pressure, around 6 atmospheres of carbon dioxide, CO2, inside the bottle. This pressure dramatically alters the physical and chemical perception of the wine. CO2, dissolving in the wine, forms carbonic acid, H2CO3, which increases overall acidity but is perceived as a fresh, sparkling, ticklish texture. The bubbles also perform a mechanical function. Bursting on the tongue and in the mouth, they whip aromatic molecules, amplifying and accelerating their penetration into the olfactory receptors. This is why champagne's aroma is so direct and intense. The main chemical process that creates champagne's unique taste is yeast autolysis. After secondary fermentation, dead yeast cells remain in the bottle, and over the course of months or years, their membranes slowly decompose, releasing amino acids, polysaccharides, and other compounds into the wine. It is this autolysis that gives champagne its famous flavors of freshly baked bread, biscuits, cookies, hazelnuts, and subtle yeast notes. This is a process that cannot occur on such a large scale in still wine. Furthermore, pressure suppresses the perception of alcohol and sugar, so even a fairly high alcohol or semi-dry champagne can seem light and fresh. Thus, the chemistry of champagne is a story of volatility, the intensification of aromas through bubbles, and the creation of a completely new palette of flavors through the interaction of wine and yeast under extreme pressure. It creates not a dense structure, but an airy, vertical, refreshing construction. Differences in philosophy and chemistry naturally give rise to two virtually non-intersecting universes of taste and aroma. Red wine's palate is warm, deep, and often low in the spectrum, while champagne operates on high, vibrant, and complex tones. The flavor profile of a quality red wine is a multi-act play that unfolds over time, both in the bottle and in the glass. Primary aromas originate from the grape itself and vary by variety. These can include juicy cherry and strawberry in Pinot Noir, blackcurrant and plum in Cabernet Sauvignon, and prune and fig in Syrah. With age or oak aging, secondary and tertiary aromas come to the fore. Notes of spice, black pepper, licorice, aged leather, tobacco leaf, cedar, truffle, dark chocolate, coffee, and of course, vanilla, clove, and oak smoke emerge. The palate is dominated by texture created by tannins, from silky and enveloping to dense and grainy. Acidity is present in a good red wine, but it serves as a framework supporting the fruity mass rather than the star player. The finish is long, often evolving, where you can trace how the initial fruit attack gives way to spicy and mineral nuances. This is a drink for leisurely, almost meditative consumption, requiring reading and reflection. The taste of red wine can be described as horizontal. It spreads across the palate, occupying the entire space, engaging in a prolonged dialogue. Its structure is like the architecture of a building. Tannins are the framework, acidity is the foundation, and fruitiness and complex aromas are the interior. Evolution in the glass is an essential part of the ceremony. As the wine comes into contact with oxygen, it awakens, revealing ever new facets that were initially hidden. That's why it's savored slowly, allowing each sip time to develop. The aromatic spectrum of champagne is built on contrast and verticality. Primary notes are crisp greenery, green apple, citrus, lemon, grapefruit, white peach, pear, and white flowers. In Pinot Noir or Pinot Meunier-based champagnes, for example in rosé or Blanc de Noir styles. Warmer notes of red berries, apricot, and cherry emerge. But the heart of Champagne's unique flavor is formed by autolytic notes, the result of prolonged contact with yeast. These notes include notes of freshly baked bread, puff pastry, sponge cake, biscuits, hazelnut, and light yeasty undertones. The taste is dominated by a crystal-clear, lively acidity that refreshes rather than cuts, creating a sensation of drinkability. The bubbles are not simply carbonation, they create a creamy, delicate, sometimes almost silky texture, mousse, on the tongue. Sweetness, if present, as in demi-sec, is perfectly integrated and never cloying. Champagne's finish is clean, often with a mineral or citrusy note. It doesn't overwhelm the palate, but rather cleanses it. Champagne doesn't require much contemplation. Its magic lies in its immediate, vibrant, and emotional impact. Its taste is vertical. It doesn't spread, but shoots upward toward the taste buds, creating a flashing, celebratory fireworks effect. Evolution in the glass is minimal. Champagne is created to be perfect from the first minute after uncorking, while the bubbles are alive and active. It doesn't invite a lengthy dialogue, it offers a toast, bright, striking, and memorable. Thus, if red wine invites you to immerse yourself in a deep, warm, horizontal world where the flavor unfolds slowly like a scroll, then Champagne offers a soaring experience into a fresh, vertical, complex world where the impression is formed by a momentary burst of aroma, a sparkling texture, and a refreshing finish. One drink speaks in a whisper, demanding silence, the other in a ringing, festive voice composed of a chorus of tones. They speak different languages. One is the language of epic and saga, the other the language of ode and hymn. And understanding this allows us not to compare them directly, but to appreciate each for its unique way of delivering pleasure. Beyond their purely taste differences, red wine and champagne occupy fundamentally different niches in the social and cultural landscape. Their consumption is framed by specific rituals that emphasize their intrinsic essence and dictate their appropriate context. These rituals are not simply traditions, but a direct consequence of their physical and flavor properties. The process of preparing and drinking red wine is a time-consuming ceremony designed to unlock its full potential. It all begins with choosing the right temperature. Most red wines require 16 to 18 degrees. Too cold and it will silence. The tannins will become harsh and the aromas will not develop. Too warm and the alcohol will take center stage and the subtleties of the flavor will evaporate. The next step is decanting, pouring the wine from the bottle into a special vessel, a decanter. This is done for two purposes. First, to separate the wine from any sediment that may form in aged wines. Second, and most importantly, to aerate it. Contact with oxygen softens harsh young tannins and helps the aromatics develop more quickly and fully. The glass itself, wide with a large volume and a tapered rim, like a Bordeaux or Burgundy glass, allows the wine to breathe and concentrates the complex aromas at the nose. The drinking process is leisurely. The wine is savored, allowed to evolve in the glass, and its changes are discussed. Red wine is associated with dinner, long conversations, a fireplace, serious negotiations, and autumn and winter evenings. It creates an atmosphere of intimacy, reflection, and depth. It is a drink for contemplation, not impulsiveness. The champagne ritual is essentially a ritual of initiation. It's quick, dramatic, and aimed at creating a collective emotional uplift. It all begins with the climactic opening of the bottle. Although connoisseurs prefer a near-silent opening to preserve the effervescence, in popular culture, the pop of the cork is an integral part of the celebration. The wine is served very chilled, 6 to 9 degrees. The low temperature emphasizes the freshness, restrains the alcohol, and preserves the bubbles. The glasses, slender flutes or more modern tulip-shaped ones, are designed to preserve the chain of bubbles and concentrate the aroma. Champagne is drunk immediately after pouring while it is at its freshest and most effervescent. It doesn't need to be awakened, it is already perfect. Champagne is a symbol of a start. New Year's, a wedding, a ship's launch, victory on the podium in Formula One, a romantic date, and an aperitif that sets the tone for the evening. Its uniqueness lies in the fact that it is an event in itself. No special occasion is needed. Opening a bottle of champagne already creates one, transforming an ordinary moment into a celebratory one. Unlike red wine, which harmoniously concludes the evening, champagne begins it, charging it with energy and lightness. This fundamental difference in context makes them complementary rather than interchangeable. An ideal evening might begin with a glass of sparkling wine, creating an atmosphere of joy and excitement, and conclude with a glass of powerful red wine, facilitating deep conversation and reflection. One drink sets the stage for conversation, the other becomes its content. Red wine demands and creates a pause, while champagne celebrates and initiates action. Understanding the fundamental differences between red wine and champagne allows us to move from theory to practice, to making an informed choice in a specific situation. Both classic rules of food pairing and more flexible modern approaches, as well as simple everyday logic, apply here. The traditional science of pairing wine and food is built on the harmony of flavors and textures. Red wine is an undisputed partner for rich, fatty, protein-rich dishes with bold flavors. Its tannins interact with the proteins in meat, softening themselves and cleansing the palate of fatty sensations. Classics: Bordeaux with beef or lamb steak, Burgundy Pinot Noir with duck, veal, or mushroom dishes, Barolo or Barbaresco with pasta with meat ragu or truffles, Cabernet Sauvignon from the New World with burgers or grilled ribs. Red wine also pairs perfectly with aged hard cheeses, cheddar, Parmesan, where the fat and saltiness are perfectly balanced by the wine's fruitiness and tannins. Champagne, especially the Brut dry style, is the king of aperitifs and the perfect companion for light, salty, mineral-rich foods. Its high acidity and bubbles perfectly cleanse the palate. Flawless pairings include oysters, caviar, fresh seafood, shrimp, scallops, light fish dishes, savory appetizers, and fresh goat cheeses. Sparkling wine also works well with fatty foods as the acidity cuts through fat. Strict rules are often broken today, leading to interesting discoveries. Light chilled red wines like Beaujolais Nouveau or Pinot Noir from cooler regions, served slightly chilled, 13 to 15 degrees C, can be a refreshing, almost drinkable drink for a picnic or cold appetizers. A powerful aged Blanc de Noir champagne or a rich rosé champagne with pronounced berry and biscuit tones can be a stunning accompaniment to white meats such as poultry, veal, and even lean steaks, where its acidity and bubbles do the job just as well as the tannins. For those in doubt, there's a safe starting rule. If you're planning a complex multi-course dinner, begin with a quality Brut champagne. It's appropriate as an aperitif, won't ruin the first course, and will smoothly prepare the transition to more intense flavors. Pairings can be based on contrast, fatty steak plus acidic, tannic red, or similarity, tender fish fillet in a creamy sauce plus creamy barrel-aged champagne. On a budget, high-quality, interesting red wines can be found in more affordable segments by exploring lesser-known regions, while true champagne, due to its production complexity and status, will almost always be more expensive. If you're looking for a specific type of wine, excellent alternatives include Crémant from other regions of France, Spanish Cava, or Italian Franciacorta, all made using the classic method. The main advice is to listen to the moment. Ask yourself what you need now: depth in conversation or lightness in celebration. Sometimes the answer lies not in gastronomy, but in psychology. Therefore, choosing between red wine and champagne isn't a test of knowledge of the rules, but an opportunity to creatively create a mood and taste experience. By using classic pairs as a foundation and being open to experimentation, you can get the most out of both worlds, knowing they're not competitors, but two powerful tools in your arsenal. So our deep dive into the worlds of red wine and champagne has come to an end. What have we learned? The fundamental opposition between these two drinks is one of the greatest illusions of wine culture. In reality, they are not competitors in the battle for our glass, but partners in an eternal dance, each performing their own unique part, perfectly complementing the other. We trace their paths diverging at their very origins. The philosophy of red wine lies in the careful capture of the voice of terroir, in a minimalism that allows the earth to speak. The philosophy of champagne lies in the triumph of human craftsmanship, in the complex alchemy of the method, transforming wine into the embodiment of an idea and a celebration. The chemistry of one is built on tannins and slow oxidation, creating a dense, horizontal structure. The chemistry of the other is built on pressure and autolysis, creating a vertical, sparkling burst of flavor. Their flavor universes rarely intersect, deep berry oak tones versus high citrus biscuit accords. Their rituals are contrasting, a leisurely ceremony with a decanter versus the instant celebration of the pop of a cork. Yet it is precisely this radical difference that lies their shared strength. They cover the entire spectrum of our needs, from the need for reflection, depth, and long intimate conversations to the thirst for spontaneous joy, lightness, and instant celebration. Red wine is a drink for dialogue with oneself and with loved ones. Champagne is a drink for dialogue with the moment, with instant happiness. So the final conclusion is simple and elegant. Don't choose between them. Learn to choose between them. Let a glass of champagne be the brilliant prologue to your evening, the spark that ignites the mood. And a glass of great red wine, its deep, rich culmination and a worthy epilogue. True victory lies not in declaring one side the champion, but in finding the freedom and wisdom to fully enjoy this contrast. Appreciate the quiet, verbose saga that red wine tells you, and appreciate the vibrant, laconic poetry of the moment that champagne gives you. This skill holds the key to an inexhaustible source of gastronomic and emotional richness.